You win. So I said, okay. Well, all my friends during the whole race was hollering, don't do it, Mike, don't do it. And so it ended up that I was supposed to run. I couldn't run at least as good as third. And I ran third, so everybody was mad at me. And they told me, so we're going to kill you. So they were bumping me, trying to put me over the rail, trying to trip me up. And actually, it was the real deal. They was trying to hurt me. So one of the last races I rode at Santa Fe, they came over, bumped me a lot in the race, and I was heading home, and I was running third, and I was gaining every jump, and was going to win the race, and my horse broke his leg. So I went to the hospital. I had separated the shoulder, and the FBI met me at the hospital, and I never got to go back to the track.
Okay, how did you get your name?
My mother was a Christian and named me after Michael the Archangel. My dad's name was Van, so that my middle name is Van, and my last name is Meador, a little bit better.
Okay, what's your full name?
Michael Van Meador.
Nice. What year did you learn to ride a bike?
Probably about 6 years old.
Yeah. What is your favorite home-cooked meal and from who?
Barbecued ribs.
Okay, from who? Who?
My son cooks very good.
Yeah, nice. What is your story?
Well, we moved to the farm whenever I was 6. So my dad bought me a little horse, a little pony, and I started riding him, and then I just got hooked on horses, and we worked cattle, and I was 4 years old in town, and I was having seizures I was allergic to cow's milk. So they bought me a milk goat, and I milked her. So I drank goat's milk most of my life, and so that helped keep me alive. And then, of course, when we moved to the farm, we got cows. So basically, raised as a farm boy, and we had chickens and goat and cattle and horses, and raised some pigs every once in a while, but we raised a garden, had watermelons all the time, and my grandmother gave me some blackberry vines, so we had enough for blackberry pies, but we canned everything we could, and we had plums on the creek that were wild, and we gathered the plums before the birds got them, put them under the bed, Mama made jelly. So we basically were good all year long that we didn't have to buy a lot of groceries. And we killed deer and stuff like that for the meat, and we raised a milk pen calf, and we raised cotton. So we chopped cotton nearly every day in the summertime, and sometimes I'd take out of school to help my dad farm, and just grew up, and I said, when I get grown, I never will farm, and I held true to that. And so I got married to a girl, and she was basically a whore. I thought she'd change, and she didn't. She cheated on me, and I got gonorrhea. And we lasted about 6 months at the most. So we divorced, and I made her take her maiden name back. And then my sister moved to Amarillo, and she said, I worked for the county by that time, had a great job, loved it, loved all the people I worked with. So she wanted me to move to Amarillo because her husband transferred up there. She said, you've always wanted to be a jockey. And by the way, in high school, I rode bulls. So I went the first rodeo I ever went to. And then she told me to go into Amarillo. Couldn't hardly find a job, so I had to come back home and work with my dad as a mechanic on those big old field rigs. And then a guy called me and said, I need somebody to ride my horses. So I went up there, worked for him, and rode my first race for him at Lubbock, Texas. And then I went back to Amarillo and went to work for another guy. And then they ran out of stuff, so I went to work for another guy that went to La Mesa Park. And I rode races up there for probably about a month. A guy came from Santa Fe and said, you're a beginner, right? And I said, yeah. He said, well, you get 5 pounds off, and we need somebody like that from Santa Fe. up at Santa Fe. So that's when I moved up there, and I met my wife the very first night, and we hooked up and ended up getting married the next year. And during that process, uh, there was a guy came to me and he said, "We're going to fix a race, and if you run third, we'll give you $1,000." Well, to win the race, I only got $1,000. I thought, boy, it sounds good, but I said, I'll have to talk to my trainer. And so I went out and talked to him, and I had bet him $20 the way they told me to bet. And I said, but he has to go for it. If he says win, I'm going to try to win. So I went out and talked to him. He said, no, you win. So I said, okay. Well, all my friends during the whole race was hollering, don't do it, Mike, don't do it. And so it ended up that I was supposed to run. I couldn't run at least as good as third. And I ran third, so everybody was mad at me. And they told me, so we're going to kill you. So they were bumping me, trying to put me over the rail, trying to trip me up. And actually, it was the real deal. They was trying to hurt me. So one of the last races I rode at Santa Fe, they came over, bumped me a lot in the race, and I was heading home, and I was running third, and I was gaining every jump and was going to win the race, and my horse broke his leg. So I went to the hospital. I had separated the shoulder, and the FBI met me at the hospital, and I never got to go back to the track. And so they kept me at a place that with a highway patrolman one in the back, and they said this guy that was running the deal had been in trouble at 3 different states, and nobody would testify about him because they always got injured. One of them was in a wheelchair because he fell off a 2-story lobby. And that was a story on all 3 people. So they kept me guarded where they couldn't get to me. And I testified, but I said, well, I don't want to testify by myself. And so they were 6 or 7 jockeys that were going to testify. I talked to them on the phone. When it came down to it, they didn't testify. So I was the only one, and they ruled him off for indefinitely. So then they told me I had full protection. Anytime the district attorney in New Mexico, I went to Denver to ride, and the police came and talked to me, and they said, there's a contract out on your life for $10,000. And I believed them. Whether it's true or not, I did believe them. And they said they're going to shoot you off a horse, or they're going to catch you out at night and they're going to kill you. So I accidentally had ridden for a guy that Roy Williams, and he was head of the Teamster Union for the truckers. And so I went on his horse, his wife's favorite horse, and it ran faster than it ever had, and it always run dead last. And then I ran second on him at Denver. So I told his trainer what was going on because we were all friends there. And so then like 2 or 3 days later, the guy that was supposedly the guy that was orchestrating all of this stuff at the racetrack in New Mexico got killed in a plane crash. And they told me, said, you don't have to worry anymore. And so that's my story about that.
That's wild.
So then I rode horses for about 14 years, and a horse slipped over on my knees and messed my knees up. I didn't want to do surgery, so I moved back to Roswell, Manzanet, and I went to work for New Mexico Military Institute. Worked for them as a maintenance relief guy for probably about 6 months. And I told them I was going back to the racetrack, and they said, we need a rodeo guy down at the stables. I went down there, and I said, you can't pay me enough money, but they did. And I worked for them, and I retired after 25 years. But when I got a chance, I went back to riding after 17 years and rode till I was 62. And I bought a business in between there, and me and the kids worked the business. So I let the kids basically have the business, and they didn't get along so good, so they split up. My son bought the business from my daughter, and that's basically my life story.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. What's your favorite thing Like in general, your favorite thing to do, your favorite thing, just in general, what's your favorite thing? What comes to mind when I say that, I guess?
Well, I've got grandkids, and I love to see them do things. My grandson plays baseball, and he's very good at it. And my granddaughter is going to be some kind of sports, softball, something like that. We bought them a go-kart for their birthday that is a teenager adult go-kart. And we turned it down a little bit, but it goes pretty fast. And they cut donuts and do all that stuff. And then Aspen plays soccer. And so that is what I enjoy the most right now
That's awesome.
in life.
For sure.
But I love watching the races at the racetrack. And I go hunting with my son-in-law. I hadn't hunted in 45 years. And I went and killed an elk cow. He was my guide. And he's a very good guide and hunter. But he got me a big old fat cow.
That's awesome. That's
So-
fun. For sure. What does home mean to you?
Home is a place you feel safe, and I've got to explain to you that I bought this land while I was still riding, and there was no one down all the way down to the road. You came across on Atkinson down there at Pine Rod on Old Clovis Highway. I wasn't not hardly anybody all the way up to the Clovis Road. So I bought this land and moved a trailer house out here, kind of fixed it up. And my mother said, I think I can get you a house to move. I said, okay. So I went and looked, and the guy said, I'll sell it to you for $6,500. So I put it all together, and I moved a house out here and on my good land up there and had it all fixed. Lived in it about 2 or 3 years, and then they come home and she said, there's a house up here in town right next to what used to be the Golden Spur Bar. And so they're taking bids on it. And I went and looked out and said, Jeanette, we don't have the money. We just barely get by now. Can't afford it. She kept on after me, so I finally called the main guy, and I said, look, I don't have a lot of money. So you need to know that I'm not trying to cheat. I just need to know, what do you expect? They told me you already have some bids. I don't care. I don't want to know what those bids are. What do you expect close to what would you say the bid will go up to? Because I don't want to go to the bank and try to borrow the money and then be $20,000 short, because I can't go over this certain price. He said, you have a house now? And I said, yeah, but I got a boy and a girl, and it's only a 2-bedroom. And they're getting at the age I need to add on or do something, and I can't add on to this house to make it look right. So he said, you know, I do have some bids on this house. He said, but I'm going to tell you what I'll do. If you clear all of the cement off of that place and all the pipelines up to 3 feet below and move all the trees, get all the trees off there, I'm going to give you that house. I said, what? I said, did you really say that? And he said, yes, I'm going to give you that house. He said, I'll send you the contract and you sign it and then you start moving it. So I did. At one time, I had taken off the winter time and worked for a guy that had a excavating outfit. So I called him and I said, the land I want to move that house on is very unlevel. And I said, can you come look at it? What would you charge me to level it off? He came out and looked. He said, Mike, he said, you're one of the best hands I ever had. Hard worker. I'm going to move all that land. I'm going to level it off for $300. I said, oh, I can't believe it.
No.
So he did. So everything worked into place, and God gave us his house.
Yeah, that's wild. The Lord will provide, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Goodness. Have you ever been in love?
Right now, still in love. 50 years this year. August.
Oh, that's amazing. 50 years.
You know, and love at first sight.
Yeah, for sure. Indeed.
I knew the second year we went up there, we dated that summer. And the second year, first time I saw her, I said, I'm going to marry you. And did at the end of the summer.
That's wild. That's amazing. What hurts the most? Like in life right now, what is something that hurts the most, I guess? Yeah.
I think 2 things. people can say bad things about you that's not true. And people can say bad things that are true and you can't change it. And then if you had a doctor tell you had a bad fatal disease and you didn't have that much longer to live until your grandkids grow up, that would be very hurtful.
Indeed. Okay, so I'm going to say 3 words, and you'll say whatever comes to your mind when I say these 3 words. Passion.
That's what drives people to success.
Indeed. Love.
Again, you're supposed to love everybody, but there's different varieties of love.
And success. That's the last one.
I think everybody's successful in their own way. And some people are never successful in their own mind. But I think success is what you set a goal for and you achieve that goal.
For sure. Okay, and my last question. What is your message to the world?
Well, everybody needs to know God and Jesus Christ. And I think most people think they've done so much stuff so bad that God can't forgive them. And you talk to people just on an average, whether they're just a everyday worker or professional, watch some church with me and they'll say, oh, lightning will strike if I go to church. So I think, first of all, they need to know that God would forgive them. And they need to know that they need to help spread the word. And the more professional athlete you get, they're ashamed most of the time to talk about God. They feel like it's a weakness when they talk about God. And so I think sometimes God don't ever want you to do things wrong. But when you do drugs and you do a lot of drinking and you do a lot of things wrong, like they do, they seem, when they find out and know it, then they accept you better and respect you more. In the doctor room one time, they have a lot of fights in the doctor room. I was about 45 years old. This guy told me when we got back to the doctor room, he said, I'm going to whip you. I said, you don't want to do that. I tried to talk him out of it several times. Well, when it ended up, he hit me and I exploded and I ended up whipping him. And so after that, the next day I told all them guys, I said, I'm sorry, I never should have fought him. But I gained their respect through that. So they really could open up and talk to me. And I've helped a lot of people with problems. They just come talk to me, not as a pastor or nothing. They just come talk to me. And I would give the devotion in the doctor room a lot of time. So they trusted me. And I think that's the story of life, is to reach out to people and talk to them if you think they need it, and let them know they could come talk to you to help them during their troubles. And everybody, that's why God put us here, is to spread the word about Jesus Christ.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.